Have you ever gotten this sudden urge to go through the drawings you made as a kid, expecting some cute little images, only to end up asking yourself, oh my god, what is that? Because that's what happened to me recently. Thankfully, I've gotten a bit better at drawing since then, so I decided it would be fun to redraw some of my old pictures. I have 5 entire folders of old drawings to choose from, and in the end I settled for redrawing this one with a girl on a beach. I made it when I was about 7 or 8, and it's one of few pictures that had a full background and everything. This one is very funny to me because, I mean, just look at her head. Why is it flat? Did I really think people look like that? The proportions in general are really funny, like her left arm and also her thighs in comparison to the lower part of her legs. Girlie also doesn't have any eyebrows or ears, something I often forgot to add as a child. But today we're gonna spice things up and try to reimagine the picture to what I actually wanted to draw as a child, but lacked the technical skills to actually do so. Granted, I don't actually remember exactly what I wanted to convey with this image, but I mean, it's a girl on a beach. I probably just wanted a pretty anime looking girl. I suppose this is as good a time as any to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Wugglawoo. I've been drawing since forever and I'm using this YouTube channel to showcase and talk about my art with the world. I'm currently working as a graphical artist for a visual novel I'm making with my brother. Check it out in the description. And on the side I'm also putting my heart and soul into a webtoon called Even When the Sun Doesn't Shine. I've been drawing for a long time, but I still feel like I have much to learn, and the thought of calling myself a professional artist with the skills I currently have is honestly a bit embarrassing. I prefer just thinking of myself as someone who likes to draw. Speaking of drawing, I struggled a lot with the sketch of this first redraw. I wanted the pose to be a bit more interesting than her literally just standing there, so I tried having her lean forward, but the legs just kept looking weird. Either they were positioned wrong or their proportions felt off. Eventually I got it to look alright, but then I had to draw the feet, and oh boy did they look wonky. I almost never draw characters without shoes, so feet are always a struggle. Of course I had to incorporate the original background as well. As you can see, there are 3 points of interest in the background. The scallop, the oyster, and the floating bottle in the background. Oh, you thought this was a random rock? Nah, it's an oyster. I don't blame you though. I thought it was a rock too. Honestly, with the colors and the items scattered around, it looks like she's on the most depressing trashed beach I've ever seen. I had to fix her bangs as well, because having hair covering literally your entire face is not a good look, fam. I suppose I should also mention the fact that I decided to give her some boba this time around. I mean, come on. There's a cutout in her swimsuit, so clearly the younger me intended for something to go there. Now, I don't usually color my sketches, but I wanted to try out the colors before I got into the line art. I tried sticking as close to the original as possible with a red swimsuit, brownish red hair, and green eyes. I even made sure to keep the keys around her wrist and ankle, because little me knew that when you go swimming you need a key for the locker where you store your clothes. Or at least that's true when you visit a pool, but not necessarily on the beach. I did a quick mock-up of the background as well, and the whole composition seemed alright. The rock in the background wasn't there in the original image, but I decided to add it because it helped frame the girl better. Now at this point I got distracted and decided that I wanted to redraw another picture as well. This one is much more recent as 2014 actually. It's been almost 10 years, oh my god. Anyway, it's a drawing of another girl in profile view. And yes, I know we must address the obvious. The proportions are absolutely horrendous. For reference, this is what a regular human would look like with the same proportions. Yikes. And might I add that this drawing was made after I supposedly had figured out the secret to drawing profile faces. But aside from the wonkiness, it's a cute little picture. I liked the earring and the flower in the hair, so I wanted to redraw it to what I might have been imagining when I made it. I changed her hair a bit to make the image more elegant, because frankly, the little strand here on her shoulder looks disgusting, and the uneven bangs is not a good vibe. And then after drawing all of that, I decided that I didn't think the first picture with the girl on the beach was interesting enough, so I wanted to draw it in a more intense perspective, but it ended up looking a bit too spicy, I guess you could say. So I tried again from a bird's eye view, and this time it was both interesting and somewhat close to the original. I ended up wanting to finish both the versions of the beach girl, so I started on the line art. At this stage, I fixed the proportions and refined the details. I don't have the patience to make a refined sketch like many other artists do, so I just kept tweaking the line art until it looks alright. I use a vector layer instead of a raster layer for the line art, so moving and scaling things doesn't mess with the quality at all. Typically, I use the regular G pen for everything when I draw, but this time I used the real G pen, and I think it looks pretty nice. It has a bit more grit and it adds to the anime look. The art style for all the drawings I made this time is different from how I usually draw too. Beach girl over here looks like she belongs in Love Live or something, maybe the Idol Master. And that's not something I can say about most of the drawings I've ever made. For the coloring I used the exact same colors as I'd put on the sketch, and for the background it was the same thing. I decided to add another rock on the opposite side though, just a bit more symmetry. One of the perks of drawing digitally is that half of the time you don't even have to draw. I just drag and drop the ocean and bam! Background is almost done. I'm exaggerating of course, but this ocean was too pretty for me to not use in this picture. I'm also bad at rendering water, so it's just a billion times quicker this way. Something else I'm bad at rendering are rocks, because what is that? The rocks were a mess, so I just blurred most of the background to cover it up. For the shadows, I decided that the light should be from behind her, so almost all of her body is in the shade. I made the shading blue because, I don't know, bounce light or something. And with some orange lighting on top of it, it looked kinda good. To tie everything together, I added an excessive amount of light, a lens flare, and some extra shading around her. And with that, the first image was complete. I'll show a comparison with the original at the end, but it's pretty nice, eh? On to the other version of the beach girl, it was very straightforward. Line art, tiny feet, base colors, background, and shading. Just like with the first version, I added a bunch of sunshine and it was done. I'll show you the finished picture later though, because there's still one more drawing to finish. Flower Girl was really easy to do line art for, so the interesting part was the coloring. The original image didn't have any colors at all, so I had free rein to do whatever I wanted. Just from the hair alone, I felt like she was one of those silent beauty types, so I gave her dark purple hair and very, and I do mean very, pale skin. I was too lazy to draw a flower myself, so I used a brush for that. The colors of the flowers were very pretty, so I used them for her eyes and earring as well. It tied everything together nicely. I don't typically use watercolor brushes when I draw, but it felt like it fit the vibe of this image, so I did my best to add at least a bit of shading. Her hair blended into the background quite a lot at this point, so I made the inside of her hair much lighter purple to make it stand out more. After increasing the saturation of the entire image, the end result is, well, it's a lot better than the original at least. Could it be better? Absolutely. Could it be worse? Yeah, and it was. And now, back to the beach girl. It's quite the improvement, eh? And yes, I finished the other pose I made as well, but I honestly didn't like the result that much, so I just chucked it in at the end here. The body is fine, but the face is a bit meh. But this has been very fun. I hope you enjoyed the process, because I sure did, and I'd love to redraw more things in the future. Make sure to subscribe to not miss out on the next video. I'll try to keep a somewhat consistent schedule, but I make no promises since I have a whole other YouTube channel to manage, as well as regular work and drawing on my webtoon. In between all that, I also need time to live. Anyways, that's it for now. Hopefully I'll see you again soon. Bye!